Good morning and a welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View with myself, Baz. What an absolutely fantastic game of football we witnessed last night at Celtic Park. Has to go down as one of the best domestic games of football the entire season so far. When you look at it, last night it has to be said, Jota, absolutely sensational, absolutely brilliant. Some of the touches from Jota shows that he can be a world class player. He should be playing in a much higher level of football. You understand why the Saudis went and got him, because they wanted a league full of sexy footballers, and Jota definitely comes into that bracket with the touches and the moves and the passes and the positional play, the where he thinks players should be, and he's just absolutely brilliant. When it comes to the fullbacks, we've got a Canadian and we've got a Scottish fullback. Both fullbacks were absolutely brilliant last night, and which got me thinking, who's the most? And the downside with YouTube, you can only put up four different answers for any question when you're asking a poll on YouTube. Or I would have had Alistair Johnson in, but has Alistair Johnson had a great season? I don't think he has. And then when you look at Maida, Dyson Maida, he's having the season of his life at Celtic, and that gives me the big fear. Because when players have the season of their life, when players are in such good form for Celtic, usually the inevitable happens. The midfield, the depth in the midfield is good. It is good. When you look at the players that are coming on, you just wish that Luke McCowan could get some more game time, just so he could come on his game just a little bit. And then Adam Ida, who didn't make the poll either. When you look at Adam Ida, scores again, scores again, um, and he himself, he scored more goals than Kyogo this year. And when you look at the goals that Dyson Maida's scored, he scored 17 goals and 8 assists. Nico Kuhn has scored 16 goals and 12 assists. You start adding Jota into the mix with that one, and I tell you one thing, Adam Ida, he can't be far behind. He can't be far behind. So it got me thinking about a question this morning before we even started. Um, who's the most improved player? Who is the most improved player this season? Is it Dyson Maida? Is he the most improved player? Because you remember last year, you remember at the beginning of last season, I did call out the fact that I reckon when we got to the end of the season, don't be surprised if Liam Scales is the most improved player. And I called that one right at the beginning of the season. This one's really difficult. This season, it's really difficult to pick out who's improved the most, because I think the level of the teams actually went up as a unit. The progress and the level of the teams actually went up a little bit. So it's a case of, has Dyson Maida improved more? Has Nico Kuhn improved since last season? Has Rio Hatate improved? Has Greg Taylor improved since last season? And it's a shame for Greg Taylor. He's only got 1%, but a lot of people are going with Dyson Maida. Dyson's obviously taken up where a 25 million player left a hole. And there's always one player that comes to the forefront and comes to the that shines in the team every year. There's always one player. Last year it was Matt O'Reilly. Matt O'Reilly was that player that he stood out from the rest. This year's Dyson Maida. Now we all know what happened with Matt O'Reilly, and this is why it gives me the fear. And I don't want it to be a downer, because I want to celebrate everything that's good about Celtic this season. When you look at it, Antarctica, Martin McKenna's in Antarctica. There we go. I don't think McCowan will be at Celtic long. Hopefully I'm wrong. He's a good player, wasted on the bench. Nah, Jim, he'll be there. He'll be there for a good few years. He'll be there for a good few years. But when you look at the starting 11 last night, Kasper Schmeichel, the undroppable Kasper Schmeichel, and Sinisalo is bound to be thinking, where am I going to get some game time? And it'll be interesting to see if the manager brings on Sinisalo for the Scottish Cup game this weekend. It is about time that we started seeing what Sinisalo, because if he is one for the future, is he prepared to stay at Celtic another season and be on the bench? And I know he's a young keeper, and keepers in the main, do you know, we've not even seen him once in action. So it'll be interesting to see if Brendan Rodgers does, because all eyes now is on the Scottish Cup. And it is just Rafe Rovers, but remember in the League Cup, at the early stages of the League Cup, we did struggle. We did struggle against Falkirk. And let's not struggle against Ross County, because I'll never hear the end of it from folk back home. But anyway, the only reason Matt was outstanding last season, says Lanky, it comes down to we didn't have proper wingers and the strikers were non-existent. Yeah, you could say that. You could say that. But we still had Dyson Maida last season, and Nico Kuhn was brought in, but just he obviously had health issues. But when you look at the players that sit in front of Schmeichel, you've got Alistair Johnson, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Trusty and Taylor. Trusty and Taylor. I mean, that's the settled back four. Whether people want Greg Taylor to stay or not, I mean, the transfer window's closed now, so he's here to the end of the season. He's playing fantastically well. He is playing fantastically well. When you look at it, that's the back four that picks itself. It was good to see Jeff coming on last night, and he looks a nice solid player. You would expect that for his age and his experience that he's had over the years, the level that he's played at in the English Premiership. You would expect him to be of a decent standard. But then again, we had a player that came in as a striker a few years ago from similar background, and he was woeful. And then you look at the midfield. Callum McGregor's never getting dropped. People, Mikey boy, yes, I am going to bring more. And apologies about the video last night. We did a trial run before the game started last night, and the video was working perfect. So I think I needed to close the system down and then restart it rather than just leave it sitting on the laptop. Something went wrong with the. But yes, there will be more guests, and it's not going to be every single day. It's not going to be every single day. It will be just the One Celtic Fans View, but on a weekly basis, there is. This is why we're trying to get this software set up so I can bring in guests. So yes, there will be guest appearances, and Kaiser would have been on more, but I noticed that he told me last night before we started the live that he's jumped ship from the podcast he was on. But anyway, and he's on another podcast. To be fair, I didn't even know that when I got him on. I've been trying to get a hold of him for about a week to get on the channel, but it is what it is. It is what it is. But anyway, when you look at the midfield at Celtic, Callum McGregor, 501 games. He's got 7 games to go when he overtakes James Forrest. Callum McGregor is not getting dropped anytime soon. You do not drop your captain. You take him off, you give him rest. Yes, you do that, but you do not drop him. And people that say that you want to drop Callum, I mean, he had one bad touch last night, I think, maybe 2 bad touches. But with the breadth of experience that Callum brings to the game of winning at Celtic, and you've got to remember, he's won a lot of trophies. He's been there and done it. And the Callum McGregor situation reminds me of the video that I did yesterday with Brownie. That I saw Brownie, and I didn't go through the whole video, but there was a bit on it where Scott Brown was talking about how good Brendan was and how Brendan saved his career. You know, got him playing longer than Brownie himself expected. And I expect the exact same. If last night is a view into the future of how Brendan Rodgers wants to mould this Celtic team and get this Celtic team play, I tell you one thing, get your seatbelts on, strap in, because it's going to be some ride. We're going to be dominant in Scottish football, and for once it looks like we're actually going to have a decent try to make sure that this team gets into the last 16 of the Champions League. That's where I see the club going. And for me, as disappointing as the transfer window was, that's behind us now. I think that Brendan Rodgers, the interview that he gave before the game yesterday was fantastic. I thought that he answered it, and he didn't point fingers. He didn't blame the board. He knows the situation, and he's an older, experienced manager. And I think Brendan 2.0 is better than Brendan 2.1. I think that the 2.0, Brendan 2.0 is absolutely an unbelievably calm. He was really calm last night after the game. He was really just, yeah, we scored 6, but we move on. You know, we look at all the good points of the game, and I think he maybe sat last night and he was like, "This is how I want the team." But then again, you never know. You never know. But we're not going to speculate about anything. Let me just get some. People who call for Calmac to be dropped don't understand football, says Anglin Ayrshire. Exactly. So what we had a couple of bad touches. Things happened from McGregor, Celtic through and through. Yeah, he is. I mean, I've enjoyed following Callum McGregor's journey with Celtic from youth level. I can remember when he had his first game at Paisley pre-season, when we played at Paisley pre-season, and he's a brilliant player. And I called it out that he was going to be Celtic captain one day, and I called it right. And he's got years left in him. Years left in him. He's a fantastic servant to the club, and rightly so that he gets his top with his 500 on it. Do you know, there's players that would have loved to have been at Celtic for 250 games. There's players that would love to have been at Celtic for 200 games. You know, for Callum to do that in the modern day, when players jump ship at the slightest chance of getting a little wage increase. You know, Callum McGregor, James Forrest, are they a dying breed? Or are there younger players that will come through the system and maybe go on to emulate? I don't think so, but you never know. There was an announcement last night that kind of went under the radar. You know, where is it? Yes, there's a Celtic defender for the B team went out on loan. Now, this is a player that has been in and around first team training over the last couple of weeks, and he's been put out on loan last minute at Celtic. Adam Montgomery, a young lad that is going through the process, a young lad that hasn't jumped ship, a young lad that is going out on loan and watching what can happen to players that go out on loan and come back. Now, people will say, look, Adam Montgomery's at the age where he should be starting to knock on the door of first team football. He's 22-year-old. He's not a young lad, but he has had quite a few injuries over the last year and a bit, which has put him down the pecking order, as they say. The 22-year-old came to the fore under Ange Postecoglou in the 21-22 season, and he's never really stepped up, but he has went out on loan at the end of the transfer window to Queen's Park FC, and he's went out on loan until the end of the season. Now, that's so Brendan Rodgers can see his progress. That's to get him away from the B team, and it's to get him playing more competitive football, I say. And it'll be interesting to see if Montgomery comes back. And the fact that Montgomery was spotted training with the first team over the last couple of weeks, Brendan Rodgers must have been wanting to have a look at him and say, right, he's not going to get any game time. What's better for the player's development? Do we keep him here and just keep him training, or do we put him out on loan at the end of the season, get him first team football, get his strength built up, do the exact same as what we did with Johnny Kenny? And you need to get a picture. I should have got a picture of Johnny Kenny when he first came to Celtic and Johnny Kenny now, because he looks completely different as a player. Anyway, who do you think has been the most improved player so far? Is it Dyson Maida? Is it Nico Kuhn? Is it Rio Hatate? Or is it Greg Taylor? 80% say the most improved player has been Rio Hatate. Interesting. There was a few there was a lot of anti-Arnie Engels. Always liked Engels, but Engels is just it's his first season at Celtic. You know, it's his. He's not even had a full season. You've got to let players have a full season before you can put them in the most improved bracket. The most improved bracket. I think we'll benefit from a loan. Yep, I hope he does. Yep, Anglia Russia. I hope he does. I hope he comes back and maybe takes over from Greg Taylor one day. He went through a rough patch when he signed. Maeda, give Maeda a better contract. He's happy with us, but we could triple his wages elsewhere. Dyson just got a new contract last season. People forget that. Dyson got a new contract last season, the same as the one that went away. Maeda's been a standout. Interesting to have a season of his life, he said. It was no brainer. He is having the season of his life, but it gives me just that little bit of a fear when players have such a fantastic season for Celtic. It generally means that somebody comes calling for them. Now, Nico Kuhn, I think that going into the summer, Celtic fans will be sitting the whole summer. I'm not even wanting to talk about just now. He was the first to sign. Yeah, Dyson was the first to sign. Engels is just finding his feet. He's really improving. Yeah, but you can't put him in the most improved bracket this season. You've got to give Arne Engels a year. I think if we give Arne Engels what we've done with every Celtic player when we do this type of thing, is when you look back over the season and you look to where they were the season before. When you look back to last season, at the start of the season, Liam Scales thought he was going back to Aberdeen. You remember he had been at Celtic. He wasn't really in the picture at Celtic. People didn't think he was going to hit the levels that he has, so he was put out on loan to Aberdeen. And then Aberdeen wanted to sign him. Not to put a damper on things after such a good display last night, but McCowan seems to lose the ball an awful lot. I just think he had an off game. Anglia Ayrshire, you can't say there was a couple of you can't say that because there was a couple of games ago. For the first 20 minutes of the game, I can't remember what game it was, but there was a game in it was up in Dundee, was it not? It was a 3-3 game in Dundee. And that was it. The 3-3 game in Dundee. Luke McCowan, everything that happened in the first 28 minutes of the game, everything that happened was going through Luke McCowan. And Luke McCowan was running that midfield. So you've got to give players, when they come in to the team and they're not playing on that regular basis, like Callum McGregor, like Rio Hatate, you can even say Arne Engels, they're not getting the chance to have a run of games, a run of game time. So you're not as fresh, you're not as match fresh as what the other players are. You're physically fit and you know what goes on the training pitch, but I think the 3-3 game up in Dundee, the first 28 minutes, everything ran through Luke McCowan that night. So give the guy a break. I think he's a fantastic player for Celtic. So the question, I didn't even type in the question, did I? I just got Maeda, Kuhn, Hatate or Greg Taylor, who is the most improved player this season? And I'm surprised that people aren't going for Greg Taylor because he just consistently ups his level a little bit. I mean, he does up his level a little bit. He's a player that people, you either love Greg Taylor or you hate Greg Taylor. There's a lot of love out there for Greg Taylor. And I'm surprised that people don't think he has improved as much this season. And Rio Hatate, we all know that Rio Hatate, he can be absolutely brilliant or woeful. But then Maeda, I think people are looking at it on just what. I mean, it's hard to split. You've got 77% for Dyson Maeda and 16% for Kuhn. But look at this along the bottom. You've got Dyson Maeda on 17 goals this season and 8 assists. And then you've got Nico Kuhn on 16 goals and 12 assists. There's not much between them. Between the two of them, there's actually not that much between them. And it's unbelievable. It's a hard one for me. It is a hard one for me. Then you bring Jota and Adam Ida into the equation. I mean, we've not really. Adam Ida's scored more goals than Kyogo this season, and he's hardly really started. It's going to be interesting to watch how many goals, if he keeps on scoring the way that he does and has done until the end of the season. The $9 million that we paid for Adam Ida is is it's now looking like it was value for money. It's now looking like it was value for money. He's always been there when he's been needed. Dyson's always been good. The quality and technical ability has improved so much. Countdown is on to 55, so next 8 games, 55's in the bag. I think Taylor's decent. It's a hard one to judge. Um, Taylor kind of goes under the. Taylor can either be really good or he gets targeted in Champions League games with the left back position, and we know it gets opened up. But it's the way that the manager sets the team up to play. So when you look at it that way, it's people that know football will know how good that Greg Taylor's actually playing. It's a bit like Callum McGregor. Callum McGregor can be sort of off the radar, but what Callum McGregor's doing on the pitch, the fact that Greg Taylor gets up the park so much and mixes it up in front of the box, you've got to say, Maida works harder, especially chasing back. There's no disputing that Dyson Maida does that. Our entire attack is frightening. Maida rekindling an old partnership with Jota, just deadly combo because they know each other's game perfectly. Says JJ. The main reason no one is going for Taylor is he won't be here soon. Hail, says Tommy55. It'll be an interesting end to the season to see if he does sign the new contract. I mean, he is in an unbelievable position. He's a player that can't get dropped because of the situation that Celtic found themselves in the left back situation, and Celtic then bringing in an albeit a replacement for Greg Taylor on a part-time basis to the end of the season. It still means that we go into the summer potentially needing another left back. Now, Montgomery going out on loan, could this be the fact that Brendan Rodgers putting Montgomery out on loan? Brendan Rodgers is saying, right, he's going to go out get some game time because we really need to see how far he can progress as a player. Now, here's a permutation that we never thought of. What about if your left backs next season is going to be Kieran Tierney and Adam Montgomery? There's a thought. Adam Montgomery is back up to Kieran Tierney. That would be fantastic. If Greg Taylor does leave, it means that you've still got the Scottish contingent with Adam Montgomery. Have Celtic put him on the transfer list and on the loan list of not that one teams? He's not on the. I don't know how they managed to get that done and dusted last night. I mean, it can't have been done last night. It must have been done. But Celtic haven't put Montgomery on the loaned out list of players. When you look at the young players that are loaned out, Ben Summers, he's still to come back. He's a cracking little midfielder. But how does he get into this team? Matthew Anderson, he's out in Austria also. Another defender that's one for the future. Then you've got young Toby, who's at Dunfermline, and then Lenny, who's at Ayr United with Scott Brown. The first team players, you're never going to see the first team players that are out on loan. You're not going to see them back at Celtic anytime soon. I think there's a one-way ticket out the door for them. Duncan says, there's a rumour Maida doesn't drive. He runs home from training. Yeah, he probably does actually. I think Yang could end up being a player, slowly getting there. Fans moaned about Taylor, Engels, Ida. Where are they now? Yep, Lanky. They moaned about the start of the season. Everybody was moaning about the price tag for Adam Ida, and now he's our main striker. And you've got to say he's playing the position absolutely fantastic. And I think it's time for him to grow into the superstar. And Johnny Kenny is the one to watch for me over the next few months to see how much he improves and how many goals he gets. I think KT, where did that go? I think KT and Greg Taylor would be the best left back depth we've ever had, says Anglin Ayrshire. It may be, but remember that Kieran Tierney was young when he came into the Celtic team. Adam Montgomery is a player that is at that age where he really needs to be knocking on the door. Adam Montgomery's first signed professional football contract with Celtic in July 2019. During his spell with the under-15 squad, Adams scored the winner and the Young Hoops triumphed in the Foyle Cup victory. He progressed into the reserves from the under-17s. He went into the B team from the under-17s, so he did get into the B team at a young age. Montgomery started out as a forward at the club before being moved into defence by coach Darren O'Day. That's an interesting one. It paid off in February when the youngster extended his contract to 2025. Don't tell me he's out of contract this summer. Oh, God. Has he not extended it? Oh, my God. Don't tell me. He can't be. Surely. Goodness. Surely the Celtic website needs updated. Let's do a little bit of digging. I hope Adam Montgomery isn't out on loan just to... Let's try transfer market. Don't believe he's out of contract. Little lad for Livingston. No, he's not. His contract expires 2027. Celtic need to update their website. Honestly, who runs the Celtic website sometimes? He signed a new contract, and he can play left midfield or left back, and his contract runs out in 2027, which for me is quite good. He's currently valued at 450k. So yeah, Montgomery is a player that he's still got. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. That's all I'm saying. Don't be surprised if Greg Taylor does leave Celtic in the summer for free because he can't. Don't be surprised if Adam Montgomery comes in. Montgomery's 22, lanky. He's 22 years old, so he's at that age where you would expect him to start getting first team football, and maybe that's why Brendan has put him out on loan. Maybe that's why he was born in 2002, July the 18th, 2002. So don't be surprised if you did see him. And he did go down to Fleetwood Town, remember. He also went down to Fleetwood Town when Scott Brown was there. And then he got injured. And he came back, didn't he? And he was going to, that was right, because he was going to then go to Motherwell. He was going to go back out to Motherwell last Christmas, last winter window. And he pulled did he not get a really bad injury? That stopped. He went to Motherwell and he was at Motherwell for 6 days. That's right. He was at Motherwell for 6 days or something, and he got a really bad injury. At Motherwell, and then Celtic brought him back, and then this season he's been in the B team. So yeah, Jim says the Celtic website's pathetic, guys. It's unbelievable. A year older than Calmac when he made his debut under Ronnie. Yeah, people forget that even though Callum's made all these appearances, he was at that age as well. So Taylor leaves, KT comes in, Schlupp turns up to be a good backup this season. I think KT and Schlupp will be left back next season. You're maybe right there, but the way that Brendan's thinking and the way that you've seen the young team in training over the last week, it'll be interesting to see what Brendan Rodgers does do. Now, I know that none of the younger players made the bench last night, but I think that Brendan is really thinking about how we can start the journey. It's all about the journey. Think about what Brendan said in the past. Younger players need to go through their football education. That's Brendan Rodgers' exact words. The younger players need to go through their football education. Young Johnny Kenny, he's went through his football education. He's came to Celtic, he's played in the B team, he didn't get into the first team, so that he was then put out on loan for 2 seasons, and he's come back a better player. And that's Celtic retaining the asset. For the likes of Daniel Cummins and that, they need to look at that, rather than chase the cash. I mean, Daniel Cummins is only 18, and he's demanding a wage that far exceeds his pay grade of where he is in the pecking order of Celtic players. But he's another player that looks like he's going to leave at the end of the season. But if anything can be done to get Adam Montgomery into the team, I mean, he's progressing quite well as a player. And the fact that Scott Brown took him down to Fleetwood, I mean, Scott Brown knows a player or two. But anyway, we move on. Dyson was class last night. So the question is, who is the most improved player this season? Now take your specs off about the. Yeah, I mean it's 75% of people are going for Dyson Maeda as most improved player. 16% are going for Nico Kuhn as most improved player this season. 3% for Rio Tati and 5% for Greg Taylor. Watch us grow now. The finishing line is in sight. This is the time, and I've said it before. This is the time that Brendan Rodgers really gets Celtic going. You know, you've got to remember that Brendan spoke about it at the end towards the end of last season. Everything is, and one thing that he hasn't spoke about is block of games. You know, he might talk about. He's never really spoke about that. He was talking about the block of games right up until Christmas. It was like the block in August, the block of games in September, the block of games, the block of games in November, December, a busy period. It then changes, and it's all about achieving little targets with each block of games to get the success that you want at the end of the season. That's the way that he was speaking about it at the beginning of the season. Now, this is, and when you can go back to what Joe Hart said when he left Celtic, he said that Brendan let the team play the same way under Ange Postecoglou for the first half of the season. It wasn't until we got past the Christmas period that Brendan just went, right. And that's when Brendan Rodgers started making changes last season. And that was Joe Hart that said that. That's exactly what Joe Hart said. It says that he was surprised that Brendan didn't try to implement more changes the first half of the season. But Brendan knows when Celtic need to click into gear. And he said once it gets after the Christmas period, and this was the game last night, this was the turning point. After the 3-3 draw up in Dundee a couple of weeks ago, Brendan Rodgers said in the press conference, Celtic will not be as lackadaisical. They'll not be as slow. They'll not. I mean, there was one point last night. There was a Dundee player running up the wing. There were 3 Celtic players chasing the player, and then out of the shadows comes a back player, right, and Ali Johnston, and makes the slide and tackle to win the ball back. There was 3 Celtic players around the player, and Ali Johnston just comes in and whacks him, takes the ball, and wipes the player out. And you're like, where's that Celtic been for a couple of weeks? At the beginning of the season, we were playing fantastic, fast attacking football. Last night was that game. Last night was the game that is the turning point to the touching distance. It's like the cup is within touching distance. The league title is within touching distance. We turned up. We went up a level last night. And that's what got me asking about the question about who is the most improved player of the season. And Dyson Maeda seems to be winning it by a massive amount, 74% this morning. Nico Kuhn's on 17, even though the stats show there is absolutely nothing between both of them. There's nothing between both of them. Samuel says, going by what Chilpel said yesterday, I don't think Maeda will leave us. He's a sure pick for Japan. And he's always picked. If he leaves, it's for a new challenge. I think that if there's a big offer comes in for Dyson, Celtic have got an awfully big decision to make. There was talk that clubs were looking at Nico Kuhn. Celtic can't afford to lose both, so it'll be one or other. If there's any bids, that's in the summer. Let's forget about the transfer window. Let's just forget about the summer and focus on 55. I need to get 55 up on the screen and then hashtag 119 again, because that was quite good. Because then it'll be hashtag 120. 16th of March, this can be St. Patrick's Day Eve Massacre. I'm actually going to a St. Paddy's Day parade. And then there'll be, last year there was 15,000 people at it. It's the biggest in mainland Europe. It's the biggest St. Patrick's Day parade in mainland Europe. Anglo Inertia says you could see Trusty trying to direct him where he should be positioned. And I thought that was great from the big man. You can see Maeda leaving in the summer, especially since his pal left us and Real will go. There does, morning Lorna, how are you this morning? There is a lifespan. There is a lifespan to a foreign Celtic player's career, and I don't really want to think about it. But I've been saying all season that there's a potential that Rio Hatate will leave. Dyson's a different kettle of fish. Dyson's a bit more settled. He's a family man. You know, he's always posting his family stuff. And does he uproot the family? You know, the family seems quite settled in Glasgow. Dyson's happy. But if there's external pressures for him to move, you never know. It's only 9 wins till the league has been won. Is it only 9 wins? I thought maybe it is that. We don't have a decision to make. We keep our team together. And as qualifier is much more important. If we fail to qualify, um, that doesn't matter when it comes to Celtic. We all know. Kyogo left because Maeda overshadowed him. Now, I think Kyogo left because he was told by his international manager that he's not going to get anywhere near the team. 208 votes, 75% say Dyson Maeda has been the most improved player this season. Nico Kuhn's at 17%, Hatate's at 3%, and Greg Taylor, I think it's a bit hard by Greg Taylor, is only on 5%. Greg Taylor is... You could say that Greg Taylor's Mr. Consistency. The consistency levels of Greg Taylor has to be right up there with some of the other players in the squad. And maybe Greg Taylor feels that he should be valued similar to... Yeah, I'm good, Lorna. All good. Why do you think we spent all the money on Engels? Because he's a replacement for Rio. Just like yeah, Lanky, you're pretty much right. And I think that's why we're trying to get in another striker. Yeah, you can see that. But then Luke McCowan, I've said it before. I think Rio will be away in the summer, but let's not even think about that yet. Let's get some of the Celtic headlines that are out there this morning. Celtic defender goes out on loan. Ominous message to Scottish football as Celtic hammer Dundee. I never seen the Hearts game against Dundee, but I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they played. But it doesn't. Who cares? Must keep our foot on the floor, says Brendan Rodgers. Brendan has spoken to the media last night, and Celtic did put out their interview of Brendan Rodgers. So I haven't listened to that. So let's have a little listen to that. Just see. We had a little bit of a listen last night, and let's see what Brendan Rodgers is saying about the game last night to Celtic TV. Just that.
Yeah, yeah. I thought from minute one to the 93rd minute we were outstanding in the game. Yep. Our hunger and mentality, and I said the other day to you guys that we had a different mindset defensively, and that obviously creates the platform for our football. And our football tonight, some of the goals so good, and just our general play was outstanding.
I know you said at the end of the transfer window you're maybe left a bit light up top, but was it good to see goals coming from different areas tonight, players getting on a score sheet?
Well, it's been no different. I think that's been our game all the way through the season. I think Dyson's on 18 goals, numbers of assists. Nicholas on 17 goals. I don't know how many assists, but he's got a lot. And Adam getting his goal, and you see him now, he's moving differently and just freed up a bit and wanting to really prove a point and show that he can be number 9 here consistently for Celtic. And then the other players, the midfield players, getting on the act. So that's always been our aim. So I'm obviously greedy, and I want more, and I want more players. I want to keep our levels, to keep improving, because it's not just about each week and each month, and it's each game we want to improve and be the best that we can.
It's interesting that Brendan talks about wants to be greedy, and he still wants more players, and he wants to be better, and he's wanting to push this Celtic team. And I think that we can put to bed, I think that Brendan still will sign a new contract in the summer. And I think it'll be an easy one. I think that Brendan Rodgers will extend his contract. It'll just be a case of for how long.
Was the most pleasing thing in relentless nature of the team?
Yeah, the team was hungry. I think that we knew when we played Dundee before that we were okay going forward. We scored 3 goals, but defensively that wasn't quite good. And I think it just came at the end of a really, it's 7 games in 21 days, so we just weren't concentrated in our defending. But tonight you seen we hunted the game in packs and numbers around the ball, winning it back, and that allowed us to sustain the attacks. And then some of our goals was a joy to see.
It was, and it's interesting that hunting in packs, the Celtic players defending en masse, and that one that I spoke about when there was a Dundee player running up the wing, there was 3 Celtic players round him, and then out of the shadows comes Alistair Johnson and just, I'll take him out. I'll take one for the team. And is anybody going to tackle him? There's Ali Johnson, just completely getting in and getting the ball away from the player and nullifying the attack from Dundee.
What was the best goal?
Well, what was the best goal?
I think Dyson's ones was a great goal. Why? Because it starts right in the very corner.
Yeah.
We're under pressure.
Yep.
Dundee are there. They want to press.
And nobody's talking about the pass from Arnie Engels to Dyson Maida. That was a sublime pass. People saying, he needs to do more than just score penalties. That, when it started off in the corner, gets to Arnie Engel. Arnie Engel makes the pass of his career, I think, to get Dyson through on goal. That
we stay calm, we connect the game, take it out, get out the other side, Arne's pass, and then probably no one would see Dyson scoring a goal like that. But what a finish it was. So yeah, that was a great goal, as was Nick's. And in fairness to Trevor and the goal, he can't really do anything about all the goals. The old goals were of the highest quality.
You mentioned the other day that Jota's maybe a wee bit far away from full fitness, but he showed today it's not just tricks and flicks, although he's got that in his locker, it's a real substance to it as well, isn't it?
I absolutely agree. No, I'd seen him, I'd obviously seen him before from the outside looking in, and then I've seen him train and work, but he's a big player, so I can't wait for him to get up to the level in terms of that football fitness. He's missed a lot of football, hasn't played a great deal, but just his class act, how he takes the ball. He has a lovely arrogance with the ball, and but like you say, he's effective. He doesn't just look a good player, he is a good player. He can beat people and make a pass, make a cross, make a shot, and he's a big talent.
I wonder if Brendan Rodgers is sitting thinking, I'd love to have listened into the conversation that Brendan had with Jota when the phone call was, do you want to come back? I'd love to have heard that conversation, because Brendan must be thinking, yes, this is where I want to take Celtic. This is the levels that I want to take Celtic. This is the type of player that I want in it at Celtic, to not just be competitive in the league and be dominant in the league. We've done that. We've done that for 20 years. But the next level is to be competitive continually in the Champions League. No more finishing bottom of a 4th pot in a group stage. It's a brand new beginning in the Champions League. This year we've proved that we can mix it with the best. Another couple of quality players. You're not talking about a big a massive income of players. You're talking about 1 or 2 real quality players up there with the Jotas, up there with the Dyson Maida, up there with Kuhn. Another couple of players like that into the squad, and we're not far off. We're not far off being able to finish in last 16 of the Champions League.
How pleased are you with Adam's sort of development and growth leading the line?
Yeah, he always is going to have to be patient here, and obviously the nature of having a brilliant striking Kyogo that fit a lot of how I want the team to play, and pressing and everything else. So he comes in and he has to sort of fit around that, but he was still made big contributions. But now I think he's taken that responsibility now. We Kyogo going, he sees this as an opportunity for him, because he knows at Celtic you have to produce, and you have to produce consistently. But so pleased for him. He's just moving different now, and again a real handful tonight. And his goal was very good. Makes a good run, gets his shot off, doesn't lie about the floor, gets up, and then he's able
Yep.
to get the rebound, and it was a really good finish. So, yeah, very pleased for him.
The fans were a wee bit nervous when he was holding his back just before half time, but is he the type of player that he needs that momentum? Is that the kind of, he needs to be in that rhythm?
I think a lot of the strikers will tell you that, you know, they need games, they need the rhythm, they need the confidence, all those sorts of things. So, but yeah, no, you're going to take knocks here and there, and you've got to expect, especially when you are that type of striker. So, but no, I thought it was very good tonight.
13 clear, Brendan, with 13 to play. You must be very pleased about how this title charge is shaping up going into the last few months.
Yeah, well, we can't complain, because I think that until this moment now, we've had an absolutely outstanding season.
Yep.
Like you say, 13 games left, 13 points clear, a big goal difference,
Massive.
which is always worth a point in itself. So, but I've always said it's really narrowing in the focus at this point of the season. Keep your hunger, keep your humility, and keep thinking of performance. And that was the message this evening. It's about winning, and we know that, but it's about performing. And when we perform, we can play well and win games. So we're in a good place. But modern day coach is all about the next game. So we'll get ready now for Wraith.
Get ready now for Wraith and our attack on the Scottish Cup. Can we win the treble? Can we win the treble this year? It's a big ask. I love the number 13. Number 13 is my lucky number. It is my lucky number. Big Joe, serious fanboy love. Yep, he does that. Someone hovering in the background as I'm hearing things. It's the dog. There's obviously fireworks going off or something. Do we ever get Tim interviewers on Celtic TV? Yeah, you don't know. We had an absolutely fantastic pre-season, and that set the tone for what came ahead, says Flying Column. Yes, and this is what Brendan will be looking for this summer again. Once we get this season out of the way, he'll be looking for players to be brought in earlier so that they can have a full pre-season. The benefit of having Nico Kuhn having a fantastic pre-season and has paid benefits, I think, this season. Look at the game that starts. Dyson looks as if he's shot out a cannon. He'll be missed against Bayern. Yes, he will be missed against Bayern, but when you look at it, we're going to have Jota and we'll have Kuhn on the other wing. So that it does give us a little bit of hope. I'm not saying that we're going to win that game by any means. I think it'll be a very, very difficult game to win. At this level, it's all to play for. Get them at Celtic Park. Yes, I think that we could sneak something. But when it goes away to Germany, I just think that they'll be far too strong on their home ground on the second leg. And I think it'll be a case of just not quite this season. I can't wait to see the scoreline against Wraith now after last night. I think it'll be a much changed team. I think that the team that started last night will not start against Wraith Rovers this weekend. So can we have the same consistency from the players that all come in? I think that Arne Engels will get dropped, Rio Hatate will get dropped, Jota will get dropped, Dyson Maida will get dropped. They'll all come on in the second half. I think Liam Scales will come in, so Trusty will get dropped. It's all about giving these players game time, and these players should have it within them to progress in the Scottish Cup against Wraith Rovers. I would like to have got Dortmund in the knockout round. Too many things went against us that night very quickly. Yep. Brendan Rodgers will walk if we sell before the qualifier. Anything will buy before that game. I don't think so. Where does Dyson get that energy? I wish I had 1% of it. The guy's incredible. Yeah. I'm going to finish up the poll. We need one vote. I need one vote to get to 250 votes. So if you haven't vote for who's the most improved player. Dyson Maida, Nico Kuhn, Rio Hatate or Greg Taylor. I should just finish it because there's not going to be any difference with one vote, is there? No difference whatsoever. Dyson Maida is the one Celtic fans viewers this morning's most improved player of the season. Dyson Maida on 73%. Nico Kuhn on 18%, which is strange because there's nothing between them when it comes to stats. Greg Taylor's on 5% and Rio Tati is on 2%. 290 votes completed. Thank you to everyone for that. Is it one we qualifier next season? I'm not too sure. I need to look into it. Sarah says, I think Jota will start in his game time ahead of Wednesday. I think that Jota will start, but he'll not play the full game. I don't think he'll play the rounds. Only part of the 2% go for Rio. Around 3 rounds of qualify. I don't think we need to go 3 rounds. Is it stupid each season that we have to qualify? It's terrible. It's no longer the Champions League. Remember, hit the thumbs, the heart button. Everyone says Jim, and I'm going to finish the video up where we are. It's been an absolutely fantastic video this morning. There's been over 1,200 people who have watched the video. Currently 300 people online. Yes, we need to play a qualifier for the Champions League, which Brendan Rodgers will want to make sure. I mean, that means that we start even earlier this summer. It does mean that we start even earlier this summer. But anyway, one of the best goals I've seen, BBC pundit Reeves about Dyson Maida's stunning chip. It was up there. Dyson Maida's goal was up there with Henrik Larsson. I'm going to say it. And if you haven't been to the community tab, go and check out the community tab this morning. You'll see a nice picture of Dyson looking like Henrik. Anyway, on that note, I feel sorry for Rafe for what's coming. Sarah thought it was one game. I've changed my answer, Baz. I said it was Maida, but I changed to Kuhn because Maida has been like that from he got here. Kuhn had to settle a bit. Yep, that's what I thought, and I was surprised that there was so much of it. I think we'll rattle Rafe that it's not going to happen. You never know. You never know. Hopefully it doesn't happen like what happened before. And on that note, have an absolutely fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world. I will be back at 8 p.m. tonight. And have a fantastic day wherever you are.
Lit. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the party. Roll up to the lit. Roll up to the party.